What? I propped myself on my elbows and started to back away from him slowly. Vincent closed the door behind him, shutting us both into room 304. Yeah, that's right, Nate. He said as he turned to me, I'm the mysterious landlord you've been looking for. You knew what was going on the whole time, didn't you? You don't get it, Nate. It was all an accident. It was never supposed to be this way. I never meant to hurt her. What are you talking about? You did something to Susan, didn't you? I asked, still on my elbows, now in my living room. It was an accident. She never even told me about her condition. How the hell was I supposed to know she needed those meds? Suddenly, in addition to the pain in the back of my head, I started to feel pain in the front as well. My vision got dark and then images started flashing before my eyes. I saw Vincent and a young girl standing in the apartment. I felt as if I was actually there, observing the entire scene clearly. Vincent was in his pajamas and the girl looked like she was dressed for a date. Dad, what are you doing here? The girl asked. Do you have any idea what time it is, Susan? He angrily said to her. We lost track of time, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stay so long. Susan replied. It's 3 a.m., Susan. I told you to be home by midnight. I said I was sorry. That's not the point. Susan looked down at her shoes timidly. You never listen. Vincent shook his head. You need to be taught some manners. He grabbed her by her wrist and she struggled for a moment before breaking free from his grip. This seemed to enrage Vincent more and he backhanded Susan, knocking her down. See what you're making me do? Vincent shouted as he opened the storage door. And that's exactly what it was, a normal storage with normal walls and normal tools inside. He grabbed Susan by her ankle and dragged her inside. He slammed the door shut and locked it as Susan started banging on the door, pleading with her father to let her out. You need to think about your actions and listen to your parents. Vincent said as he glanced at his watch. It's exactly 3:19 a.m. I will be back in 1 hour to let you out once you've thought about your actions. He stormed out of the apartment as Susan continued to plead. Dad, please. She pounded on the door. I need my meds. Let me out. Please. Susan's muffled pleats turned into wheezing and then into shallow panting. Eventually, her breathing stopped and everything went silent. Another flash appeared in front of my eyes, and when it disappeared, I saw Vincent entering the apartment again. For 19, time's up, Sue. He strode to the storage door and knocked on it loudly with his palm. You ready to listen now? There was no response from the other side. Hey, you little brat. He slammed the door again. You hear me? Silence. Fucking brat. He pulled his keys out and forcefully stuck them in the keyhole, turning them aggressively. You're going to learn how to. Vincent pushed the door open and stopped in his tracks, his eyes widening in horror. The storage room was gone, and instead what stood in front of him was a corridor which stretched into infinite darkness. There were pulsating veins and tendrils stretching across the walls and floor, making the entire place look like a living amalgamation. Susan? Vincent called out to her. As a response, the tendrils started to slither slowly towards him, and he screamed and shut the door in a panic. Another flash blinded me, and I was back in reality, on the floor of my living room with Vincent standing over me. The blaring of the fire alarm returned along with the pain in my skull. You did that. You killed her. I shouted at Vincent angrily. You let the apartment take her. Vincent shook his head. You still don't get it. The apartment didn't kill her. She's the apartment, Nathan. When I locked her in there and she died, Her anger and hate for what I did created this abomination which desires to feed on people. I thought about burning the place myself, but then I realized she's my daughter and I have to keep her happy. So every few months I find new tenants who walk inside the room and never come back. Do you even realize how difficult it is to find oblivious tenants like that guy Martin, who don't run away before being consumed by the apartment? Everyone has some fucking questions all the time. But Martin was good. He never asked a question, and then one day he just disappeared and Susan was satiated. The tenants served as food for Susan. But you, Nate, I had different plans for you. I liked you. You could have stayed alive. He took a few steps towards me, so that he stood inches away from me. I'm sorry, son, but I can't let you leave, he said. It was at this point that the storage door slowly started to open to the darkness inside. Vincent, wait! I raised my hand up in a stop sign, focusing my gaze on the door. Vincent ignored me and raised the crowbar above his head with both hands, ready to bring it down on me. I was still transfixed on the door. A pair of eyes appeared in the darkness. A pair of familiar, bloodshot eyes. Before Vincent managed to bring down the crowbar on my head, the creaking lady, Daniela, jumped and tackled him at an impossible speed, closing the distance between the two of them in the blink of an eye. The creaking was louder than ever now, so loud that the alarm could almost not be heard. She grabbed Vincent's head with both hands and slammed it on the ground over and over, as if he was a rag doll. When he went limp, she pushed her bony fingers into his eyes. Blood spurted out of Vincent's eye sockets, as he screamed and writhed, unable to break free from her. And then, still holding him by his head with one hand, she dragged him inside the storage room effortlessly, as he screamed. The door slammed shut and Vincent's hysterical screaming got drowned out until it, along with the creaking, stopped completely, leaving only the alarm. I stared at the door for a while, not fully comprehending what just happened. When I finally came to my senses, I crawled towards the entrance, grabbing the lighter which fell out of my hand. This time I didn't hesitate and ignited the floor as fast as possible. As soon as the flame touched the gas-stained carpet, it spread quickly in a wave and the room was engulfed in the brightness of the fire. I bolted out of the building as quickly as I could with my throbbing head. Sirens of the firemen greeted me outside, along with the tenants who stood on the other side of the street and watched in horror as their homes burned up. Dolores waved to me from the crowd and I approached her. "You made it," she said. "Yeah, it's over." I stared at the burning window which used to be my apartment. The flames were spreading onto the adjacent rooms quickly and the firefighters were having trouble containing the damage. "You did right thing, Nate," Dolores said. "I'm sure it's what Michelle would have wanted as well. I just hope they find peace," I said. "My sister is here to pick me up. Come on, we'll give you a ride." I followed her. I turned around one last time to look at the burning building and saw people in the windows. They stood motionless, staring at me. I could tell from here who they were: Michelle, Martin, Daniela, and everyone else who fell victim to the apartment. I can't tell why, but I believe they were grateful and were saying goodbye. "You coming, Nate?" Dolores shouted. "Yeah, I'm coming." I looked in her direction and then back at the building. The former tenants were gone, leaving only an empty building with a dancing flame.
That's the end of this story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you. Come back every Tuesday and Friday for more videos.